Assalamu alaikum and good day all. Today our topic for the presentation is why do individuals commit corruption and abuse of power for the MPU subject integrity and anti-corruption. So I will be introducing to my group members. So we are a group of 10 members. Firstly, Shuruk Mudawi from Bachelor of Nursing Science Honors, Al-Atawi Malik, Bachelor of Nursing Science Honors, Noor Ainin Bintino, Bachelor of Nursing Science Honors, Safia Alam, Bachelor of Nursing Science Honors, Layan Abdurrahman Al-Nagdi, Bachelor of Computer Science, Hassan IFTIKHAR, Bachelor of Biotechnology, Muhammad Ali Ajgor Torjon, Bachelor of Nursing Science, Emmanuel DARRYL, Bachelor of Nursing Science Honors, AREEG Ibrahim ASSIRE, Postgraduate in Nursing, OUISSAM LAKOUISMI, Bachelor of Computer Science Honors. So we will proceed with our presentation now. Hope you all like it.
Thank you. Now I will start with the introduction to our topic. First of all, let us understand what these two terms mean, corruption and abuse of power. Corruption can be described as the misuse of untrusted power, position or resource for personal gain. This can take many forms such as bribery, favoritism, or unfair decision making. On the other hand, abuse of power refers to when someone in authority use their position in unfair or harmful way. This might involve intimidating others, breaking rules, or taking advantage of their role to control people or situation. While corruption usually focuses on gaining benefit like money or influence, abuse of power is more about using authority in ways that are unjust and damaging. Now, why is this topic is important for us to study? Corruption and abuse of power are not just individual problems. They affect entire communities, organizations, and even nations. When leaders or individuals act corruptly, trust between the public and institutions become weak. People start to feel that the system is unfair and the opportunities are not equal. Economically, corruption reduces growth because resources are wasted, investment are discouraged, and honest business cannot compete fairly. Socially, these actions harm important values such as fairness, justice, and integrity, and they create an environment where dishonesty becomes normal. By studying the reason why individuals commit corruption and misuse their authority, we can better understand human behavior and the weakness in our system. Let's conclude my part for the introduction. Now I would like to pass it to the next member who will continue.
Everyone, my name is Darryl, and for my part, I'll be talking about one of the major reasons why people commit corruption and abuse of power, the greed for wealth. So greed isn't just about wanting enough to survive. In many cases, the person already has more than enough to live comfortably, but still chases more money, more influence, more luxury. This desire for endless gain makes them ignore ethics and fairness, and it turns personal profit into their own top priority. Here, the greed for wealth often shows up as an excessive desire for money or possessions. It becomes the main driver behind many corrupt actions. For example, a government official might accept bribes to approve contracts, or a manager could misuse company funds to support a lifestyle they cannot afford. In both cases, personal gain takes top priority over justice and responsibility. Greed also fuels bribery, misuse of funds, and creates inequality because the resources that should help communities are diverted into private pockets. That's why corruption linked to greed is so dangerous. It doesn't just harm an institution, it poisons the entire system. So, why it matters? The impact of greed driven corruption is felt by everyone. First, it weakens trust in institutions. When people see leaders putting wealth above honesty, faith in the system collapses. Second, it diverts resources away from communities. Money that could have funded schools, hospitals, or development projects is lost. Finally, it hurts ordinary citizens the most because they are the ones who missed out on opportunities and services. So, greed for wealth doesn't just corrupt individuals, it corrodes society as a whole. It is important to remember that corruption is not always linked to poverty. In fact, sometimes the wealthiest are the most corrupt because greed has no limit. And when leaders set this example, it spreads. People under them may start to think, if those in power can get away with it, why shouldn't I? That's how corruption becomes normalized and spread across organizations and communities. In conclusion, greed for wealth is more than a personal flaw. It is one of the strongest forces driving corruption and abuse of power. By recognizing how greed operates, we can see why it is so destructive and why tackling corruption means addressing both weak systems and the human mindset that puts wealth above integrity. Thank you.
Abuse of position means using the authority or power you've been given in a way that benefits yourself, your family, or your close connections, rather than serving the organization or the public. This is one of the most common ways corruptions happen. For example, nepotism. A government officer hires or promotes relatives even if they are not qualified. This creates unfair advantages. Misuse of resources. Some leaders use official cars, office funds, or even staff for their personal needs. Unfair decisions. Awarding contracts or projects to companies owned by friends in exchange for money or favors. Real life cases have happened. For example, in Malaysia, several cases have shown abuse of position. For example, former Prime Minister Najib Razak was convicted in the 1MDB scandal, where his position was used to divert billions of dollars for personal benefit. In other countries, such as South Korea, former President uh, Park Geun-hye was removed from office for allowing her close friends to influence government decision and gain benefits. When leaders or officials abuse their position, it damages trust in institutions, creates inequality, and opens the door for even bigger corruption. That's why strict accountability and transparency are so important. Thank you.
Good afternoon to my respected lecturer and my fellow audiences. Introducing myself, my name is Nur Aini Bentino from Program Bachelor in Nursing Science, Honor Batch 2407, third semester student. Today I would like to present the answer for a critical question: why do individuals commit corruption and abuse their power? The main point that I want to highlight here is because of the weight of ethics and morals. There are four factors contribute to this reason. First, moral disengagement with where this is when individuals mentally disconnected from the ethical consequences of their action. They rationalize wrongdoing by minimizing harm or shifting blame. You might have heard some of those who doing this say like, it's just a small bribe, or they say, everyone does it, so why not me doing so? Okay, the second is because the lack of empathy. Power can distort perspective. When someone holds authority, they may lose touch with the human impact of their decision. This detachment make it easier to exploit others without remorse. Without empathy, people become objects in a system, not individuals with right and dignity. The third one is because of the absence of integrity education. Ethical reasoning is not automatic, but it is learned. If integrity is not cultivated early, whether in schools or professional training, individuals may lack the tools to navigate moral dilemmas. They might know what's legal, but not necessarily what's right. This gap leaves room for manipulation and moral shortcut. And the last one is because of the egocentric thinking. At the heart of many abuses of power, it is a self-centered worldview. When personal success is prioritized over common well-being, moral responsibility erodes. So this mindset breeds entitlement and justifies exploitation as a means to an end. Okay, to sum up my point is because corruption doesn't begin with a single act, it begins with a mindset. When ethics are weak and empathy is absent, power becomes a tool for personal gain rather than public service. Strengthening moral education, fostering empathy, and holding individuals accountable are essential steps toward a more just society. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Explain about peer and social influence. First, normalization of wrongdoing. When people see their colleagues or leaders often engaged in corruption, it leads to feel normal. Believing that everyone is doing that makes them less likely to see their own action as wrong. Pressure to conform. Because people want to belong, new member may feel pressure to join in the group corrupt practices. So they are accepted and not seen as outsider. Fear of exclusion. Refusing to participate in corruption can lead to isolation, mispromotion, or even hostility from the group. The fear of being punished for the good behavior push people to go along with. The reward for participation. Conversely, those who are along with corruption are often rewarded with financial benefits, promotion, and social status with the group. This makes corruption seems like a beneficial choice. Moral compromised in small steps. Corruption often starts with small action, like accepting gift. With peer influence, these actions grow bigger and become more serious, make it easier for person to justify their behavior over the time. Group justification. Corrupt group often create their excuse behavior, like we don't get paid enough or this is how things get done. Such group thinking helps members ignore or suppress their personal guilt.
Thank you, AREEG. I'm Safia, and I will now explain how the lack of transparency contributes to corruption and abuse of power. Lack of transparency means that decisions are made in secrecy without openness or accountability. When leaders or organizations do not share information clearly, it becomes more difficult for others to detect corruption. Without proper reporting systems, corrupt actions such as bribery or favoritism can easily go unnoticed. People are also unable to question or challenge leaders if they do not have access to information. This secrecy creates an environment where unethical practices can grow because no one is watching or holding them responsible. For example, Transparency International has shown that countries with low levels of transparency usually face higher rates of corruption. So, we can see that openness, honesty, and accountability are very important in preventing corruption. Without transparency, corruption and abuse of power will continue to spread. Thank you. Now, I will proceed with another member. Next is desire for power and control in corruption and abuse of power. Some individuals are driven by the need to dominate or influence others. Power is seen as a way to secure status, authority, and recognition. Leads to misuse of position for personal gain instead of serving the public. Individuals may manipulate systems, rules, or people to maintain control. Corruption becomes a tool to strengthen authority and suppress opposition. Results in inequality, injustice, and loss of public trust. Thank you.
Explain how a law of risk of punishment encourages corruption and abuse of power, and why strongly accountability is essential, and what it means. Law exists but are poorly enforced. Wrongdoers face little or no consequences. This creates a culture of impunity And low risk of punishment doesn't mean there are no laws. It means laws aren't enforced. This creates culture where corruption feels safe. Cost of low punishment risk, weak justice system, politic system, and also politic interference. Corruption within law enforcement, lack of independent oversight, punishment is written when core duties are weak. Politics interferes in vaccination. Intervaccination of oversight is missing. Sometimes even the over enforcers are compute. Effect on corruption. Corruption become our safe choice, encourages repeat office, blinds, a network of impunities. When this later change of began punishment, corruption becomes a safe but people repeat abuse and group of for to protect each other. Real life example, we have official avoiding prosecution despite evidence, high politics case dodges out for years, selective justice trigger only abuse. In many places, we see offense as by punishment despite clear evidence, cause drug on unit, forgetting and justify, often trick, and only offense not lie. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Torjon, a BSc nursing student. My topic is economic and social pressure. So you have to know what is economic pressure and social pressure. So economic pressure is financial stress from unemployment, low income, inflation, and debt. And another hand, what is social pressure? So social pressure is expectations from family, peer, culture and social media and also friend. So what it matters, the both pressures affected mental health and lifestyle and listening and making. So what is the effect side? So first of all, no, effect side is stress, anxiety, depression, poor work, or study performance, risky behaviors, and social problems. Find out solution. So financial planning and education, the building and confidence and invidently support systems and family counseling and community help. Thank you. My next partner will continue.
Hello, good morning. I am Malik. Today I am going to talk about solution to reduce corruption. We need more transparency in the decisions and money use, strict laws and real pun- pun- punishment for corrupt acts, deductions to build strong ethics and integrity, protection for whistleblowers who report corruption, strong institutions and that are fair and independent. Conclusion: corruption happens when people choose personal gain over honesty. It is often used caused by greed, desire for power, peer pressure, weak ethics, and lack of strong punishment. The result is very serious because corruption destroys trust. increases inequality and harms society.